Gavin ran through some of this. But I was president in the explosion of the technology boom. I came to California and repeatedly said, we got to spread the benefits to everybody. We got to connect every school. We got to connect every library. We got to connect every hospital. We got to bring broadband to rural areas. We got to train and educate people to do this. We doubled investment in education, gave 10 million more people aid to go to college, put millions more people in after school, and we got 22.7 million jobs because we had an invest and grow theory. We also did have arithmetic. We had a pay-as-you-go rule. People ask me, what great, brilliant idea did you bring to Washington to get all those surpluses? And I always say arithmetic. But we had 4 surpluses in a row, and we did pay $600 billion down on the debt. This country would have been out of debt for the first time since 1832 by 2015. But when the Supreme Court made their decision in the presidential election, and for the first time ever, wait a minute, for the first time ever, we had the Republicans, in fairness to them, got a chance to put their ideas into effect. They had the Congress and the White House. So what did they do? You remember this when they talk about how frugal they are. First thing they did was to repeal the pay-as-you-go rule. Then they fought 2 wars, gave the seniors a drug benefit, spent money like crazy, and doubled the debt of the country before the financial meltdown. Now, since the only thing that matters in their economic theory is cutting taxes mostly for people in my income group, I love to say that because I never had any money while I was 20. They threw 5 tax cuts at me. What did it do? Before the meltdown, we had 2.5 million new jobs, 10% as many as were produced in the previous 8 years. Then, 4 months before President Obama took the oath of office, the crash happened. The crash didn't happen because there was too much government. It happened because there was too little oversight, too much risk, and nobody happened. And to hear the Republicans talk about it, it's all the president and the Congress's fault because he's been president since January the 21st, as if after 4 months, he should have stopped the train going downhill in 10 seconds. Just think about it. You're driving a locomotive 150 or 200 miles an hour straight downhill, and it weighs several tons, and you're supposed to stop it in 10 seconds. You couldn't do it either. The locomotive didn't stop going downhill for 6 months. About July the 1st, it bottomed out. Okay, fact number 1. We're all playing football now, so we're interested in facts. Look at the game film. Here's what it shows. Since the global financial crisis bottomed out, the United States has recovered 70% of its lost GDP. How's the competition doing? Germany 60%, Japan 50%, the United Kingdom 30%. Now, I'm not trying to get applause for the president and the Congress because people only hire Democrats when things are messed up. They want to feel better. They don't feel better yet. Why? Because all the jobs are in that last 30%, and when we get out and start going on into the future. But the last thing you want to do is put the shovel brigade back in the hole and bring us off of where we are. We need to keep going forward, not backward. Okay. So what do we need to do? We got to have more jobs and financing for them, and we got to make sure people have the education and training to do them. Now, this will bear on both who should be governor and lieutenant governor, as well as what you should do in the Congress races. So, where are the jobs going to come from? They're going to come from a commitment to a green energy future. But let me just say this. Before this meltdown, every country in the world that kept pushing to meet the Kyoto Protocol reductions in greenhouse gases had a lower unemployment rate than we did, a higher per capita income rate than we did, less income inequality than we did, and higher new business formation than we did. You stick with this greenhouse gas commitment you got. Don't you repeal that. And don't you let anybody talk to you about it. It is the key to your economic future. That's what the facts, not the fears, show. Okay. So we got to have green energy, we got to have more technology, we got to have new biotechnology, small business, and we can bring manufacturing back to America. But to do it, you have to finance it. So you have to give banks incentives to loan through loan guarantees, and you have to give tax credits for real new jobs, not imagined ones. And the President of Congress did that, and it takes a while to get it going again. This week in Nevada, with the second highest unemployment rate in the country, they announced that a Chinese company was going to put 1,000 jobs in Las Vegas to make LED light bulbs in America, and they said explicitly it was because of the green energy commitment of the White House and the Congress of the United States. Another company is going to put 3,500 jobs there to build wind turbines. In 2001, the United States only had, listen to this, 2% of the market for the high-powered batteries necessary to build an electric car market. Because of the investments and the incentives that have been made, we'll have 40% of the market by 2014. We're coming back. So, if the question is who's more likely to get new jobs, this is not a close question. Because what the Republicans in Washington have promised to do is to repeal all those things, to cancel all the green energy projects and the stimulus not yet finished, costing tens of thousands of jobs to America, and to make tax cuts permanent for the wealthiest Americans. Just people over $1 million in income, that adds $600 billion to the debt in the next 10 years. Second thing, if you get the jobs, do we have the people to do them? Here are two facts every college student needs to know. There are 3 million jobs available to be hired and filled today. They are posted that have been vacant for more than 3 weeks. Why? There are several reasons, but the big reason is the people who've applied for them don't have the skills the jobs require. Why? Because they cut back on sophisticated training programs. What should we do? Every month, when Jerry Brown gets elected governor, he should get a list of every job in California that's been open for 3 weeks or more, and a check from the federal government to train people that he can spend at a community college and a labor program over the employers every month. That would lower the unemployment rate by 2%. What do the Republicans want to do? Make the tax cuts permanent, repeal health care and add $100 billion to the deficit. Last year, their program, which has let the health insurance companies keep running the country into the ground, led to 5.5 million people losing their health insurance and 3 million went on Medicaid, aggravating California's budget headaches. So they say, let us do all this, we'll repeal health care, extend these tax cuts, and we'll cut everything else by 25%. Where will you be if they cut aid to education, aid to higher education, and everything else by 25%? I'll tell you what, instead of 3 million unfilled jobs, you'll have 5 million unfilled jobs. You don't have a choice here. That's what the game film showed. The facts are clear. You have two different philosophies, two different ideas. And the last thing I want to say about it is this. In this decade, the United States, for the first time in my lifetime, fell from first to ninth in the percentage of our adults with four-year college degrees. Among young adults, we are now 12th. Part of that is a credit to our competitors. They're educating more people. Mostly it's because people started but didn't finish. We're still first in the world in percentage of people who start in higher education but who quit before they get four-year degrees. Why? Because of the cost and because the Pell Grants and the credits for tuition and the loans have not kept up with the cost, and people quit over and over and over again because they say, I can't borrow any more money, I'll never be able to repay it back. It happens over and over again. And then people get out of medical school and say, you know, I might like to go into inner city Los Angeles and be a doctor for a while, but I owe $250,000. I better do a residency, become a specialist, just so I can pay my debt back. You all know these stories. You get out of UCLA, you say, well, I might like to go into South Central LA and teach school for a couple of years, but I owe too much money, right? Okay, now, the most important thing that this Congress has done for your future and all the people who will come to UCLA after you is to revolutionize the student loan program, and most students don't know it. Here's what the law does. And I want you to think, the reason I'm telling you all this is because it could affect their election, because remember what I told you. If young people vote in the same percentage of the electorate they did 2 years ago, all the good guys win.